Inspiration. Such a demanding thing. Or does it have to be?
You can't make something if you're not consuming something.
Or I create art in ordinariness. One doesn't have to look very far.
Let me say a cosmic phenomenon.
In conversations, ideas come to life.
All of these things can be well springs of creativity.
I want to be able to teach people, inspire people. That's where it all began.
Somehow managed to see an opportunity where others didn't get it off the ground. People resonate with it, and it's become its own thing.
They told a story around it, and that's what really inspired me. There's so many possibilities. It's a very big pond, I guess.
Thankful that I got super bored not doing anything, so that made me start putting myself out there. Just be yourself.
Just appreciate everything.
It's all material. It's a podcast for and by creatives. My name is Aubrey, and I dare say it's all material. Let's get to the nitty-gritty now, shall we? It's all material. Welcome to the show where we talk about all things creative and the other things that come with it. This podcast aims to show some love to artists all over the world. And today I'm with someone who's been just a blessing to the world of social media. He's done so much, both as a professional and as a creative. He's been a voice on your radio, a funny food meme on your FB and IG, a witty article on your newspaper. Name it, a face on YouTube, Lazada, and more. And he's a great singer too. Proud of this gem who's making it happen wherever he is. How are you, Zhaun?
Hey, hi. I'm doing great. It was a pretty typical day, but since I got off work, I was able to do all my household chores, squeeze in a quick workout, and it wasn't late for this meeting.
Oh, awesome. How long have you been working from home? Ever since crazy times happened?
Yeah, so March of 2020.
I see. What do you do usually, on a typical day?
These days I'm trying to lead a more balanced lifestyle. So I wake up at around 7-ish, get to work at 8, that ends at 5. And then depending on what day it is, I try to squeeze in a quick workout, 30 minutes to an hour. And then I do all my chores. So wash the dishes, vacuum the floors, mop the floors. Yeah. At around this hour, at around 8 p.m., my parents call me and we pray the rosary together. So they're all in Davao. I'm the only one who's away from the family. And so after the rosary, that's when I try to wind down. I changed my lights to, I have smart lights, so I changed the light color to red.
Ooh, like when you're trying to go to sleep, does that relax you? Or is that during the rosary? Sorry.
After the rosary. So I read somewhere that red light actually helps you cool down after a day. Yeah, it's supposed to increase melatonin production and decrease cortisol levels. I don't really know what that means, but that's what I read. So I switched my lights to red. You know how they say that blue light makes it more difficult to sleep at night? So the opposite is red light, right? So yeah.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. And how is it working out for you so far? Is it working?
It is working. Although I've been trying to read more books. So my brothers gave me an ebook reader for Christmas. So I've been trying to read more books, and that always puts me to sleep. So it's either the red light or the books.
Maybe there's also a placebo effect to it.
Right.
But I mean, I'm so glad that you're doing great, despite the crazy times that happened. Have you been boosted yet?
Yes, yeah. In Davao before the New Year's, I got my booster shot. And I think that's one of the things that every day I'm still grateful for, is that none of my immediate family has ever had COVID.
Oh, they're so blessed. You're so blessed. That's so great.
I know. And especially since I live in Manila now, it's quite rare not to have symptoms. Like everybody I know has been suffering from a symptom of either COVID or just
Something
a common
else.
flu. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you're so lucky. You really got lucky. So right now I just wanted to talk to you more about your creative life. Like right now you're also fulfilling your corporate life as well as your creative life. And I just wanted to, circle back on how you got started with your creativity. Like did it start at an early age, or when did you discover that you wanted to do a food review page, or you wanted to become a writer, or when you wanted to become a radio personality? Like when did it all just dawned on you?
I don't think it was, none of this was deliberate. It was more the opportunity presented itself, or I
Mm,
somehow managed to see an opportunity where others didn't see it, I guess. And if it was something I thought I could do, then I proceeded to try it out. But it was never, because I was involved in so many different things. It's a little difficult to answer that question, but it was never for social media, at least, or for my blogging. I never did it for fame or to be recognized or
mm,
to to go viral. That was never the intent. Uh, it was just sharing sharing my experience or my experiences. And if you've stumbled upon my Facebook or IG pages for Lami Wa'y Lami, which is
yes.
I'd like to think it's funny. It's a funny food review in Bisaya,
Yes,
but
it is hilarious.
that isn't how I am as a person, right? Like, you know me personally. I don't talk that way. That's not how I communicate, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But it's just that because I'm a marketing graduate, I feel like it's very important to be on brand. So
Yes.
for Lami Wa'y Lami, everything I wrote was deliberately on brand. And that's sort of the reason why I wanted to remain anonymous as the person behind Lami Wa'y Lami, because again, if you know me, you'd know that that's not really how I communicate.
How do you get
Yeah.
into character though? I'm really curious. Like how do you separate your own personality from the brand that you're trying to portray for Lami Wa'y Lami?
It was probably from talking to a lot of people that communicated that way.
Yeah, yeah,
So a lot of
yeah.
my friends talk that way. I'm sure you've talked to some of my friends, and they're very animated and
Yes.
very funny, witty people. And I guess putting myself in that headspace when I'm writing articles for Lami Wa'y Lami really helped. Versus, for example, Confessions of a Partyphile, my
Oh, your
blog
radio
and
show.
my
Yeah. Your vlog
yeah,
and
and
your
my
radio
radio
show.
show and my newspaper column, which if you read that, like, totally different person.
I know, right? You were telling me earlier that you would like, I wake up at 7 now. Jean, are you serious? Like, I was
Because I
thinking like
have to
it.
work.
Yeah, yeah. Because before, when we used to work at Mix FM, we were both, we were all like witnesses to how much of a party foul you were, and I think it was a whole different world back then than how it is now. And it's just really refreshing, like to see you evolve, in the way that you did, and it's just really fun, like thinking back to it now. Like also the events that you hosted, God, those were so successful, and the all the places were always packed. Like, man, how do you do that?
I don't know. In many of the things I do, I think I'm just generally a lucky person. I wouldn't say I'm extraordinarily good at any one thing in particular. Like, I wouldn't say that I was the best radio show host. I never thought that. I don't. Looking back, I'm sure I wasn't the best. I wasn't the best newspaper columnist. I wasn't the best um, blogger, vlogger. Uh, it was just, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I guess maybe the intent was clear.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
right. Yeah, on top of everything, your intent was clear. It was all intentional. You had a purpose for everything that you did. You had intention there, and you delivered that intention, and that's why you made an impact on people's lives all throughout those phases and everything that you did creative wise. And I think that's what made the impact that it had before, and it continues to make the impact that it has now.
Yeah, I agree because like if you really think about it, um I'm sure for some people it would be difficult to transition from Confessions of a Party File. uh it was straight English, a little social,
Mm,
very, very modern, very
mm,
liberated,
mhm.
transition to very masa, pure Bisaya, Lami Wa'y Lami, and all the other things that I did. Um, but yeah, I think it was because it was intentional and like reading my material, you wouldn't know it, but I really was strategic about it, about partnerships I made,
That's right.
promos I made, the things I said, what I wrote. And I remember when I used to go on air, uh, not many radio show hosts or radio DJs did this, but I came in the booth prepared with everything that I had to say for the whole show.
You had show notes, yeah.
Yeah, and it
Mhm.
was very detailed. Yeah, I'd like to think I was strategic about it. Even let me if you notice, if I review um one bad dish from a restaurant,
Mhm.
you can expect that like a couple of weeks after I'd review a good dish from them as redemption,
Mm,
right? Uh-huh.
right.
Yeah, so it was strategic. And in fact, that was one of the reasons why I only reviewed one dish per establishment.
That's right.
Hmm.
I understand now. Now that you gave me all of this, like, wow, I'm mind blown. And also, since you already talked about, posting negative reviews as well for food that you didn't happen to like, can you talk to me more about how you handle all that beef on social media, if ever you had any? Like, I'm sure that because of your following, it's inevitable to, clash with other people. Like, how do you deal with those situations?
I, I didn't. I didn't really. By the time I got to Lami Wa'y Lami, I was so used to negative comments from Confessions of a Party File that
Mm.
I didn't really mind the negative. Also, like I put my opinion out there, so my mindset is that I should be able to take someone else's opinion about what I wrote. Although there were days when it didn't feel good, but you just learn to tune it out, I guess. You know, if they say something about it, they still engage, and that's still kind of good.
I
But
know.
it, I never meant for it to like destroy a restaurant's reputation, and
Mhm.
that's why I always had a backup post that was positive about them,
Mhm.
and it was intentional. I wouldn't review one dish from one restaurant with a good review and then a couple of weeks later release a bad review. I'd always release the good review first so that it would
Mm.
feel like redemption. And again, that's why I only review one dish per post. I don't do like a full menu review
Yeah.
because what I'm trying to say is this dish I didn't like, but there are other
Mhm.
dishes from this restaurant that may be good.
Yeah. And I think that because you're also, you inform people and you educate them on where to go and what to try. I think that all of the information, whenever we provide information on social media, it's always open for interpretation and however the person understands it when he or she reads it. And I think that's also one of the things that some people are scared of doing, you know, like they're scared to make a wrong move on social media because because of that fear of getting bashed. And now that you told me that you kind of found a way to tune that out, that's just awesome. And when you told me that that your experience with Confessions of a Partyphile kind of made your skin a little bit thicker when you already handled Lami Wa'y Lami, I think that's also a great example of, you know, keeping it pro, like for all of the people who want to pursue something like this. Like you just learn how to tune it out and then not take it personally as well.
Right, because if you really think about it, they don't probably know you as a person. They're not
Yeah,
attacking you personally. It's just that they
right.
didn't like your post. Also, it's good to take a step back and think about whether you could have worded what you wrote better.
Mm,
And I think that's something that comes with maturity. Uh, but and accepting that, you know, it won't always be a good day. Not all your posts will be well received. And
yeah.
if really you're looking for validation on social media, that's not the way to go. I don't think it can sustain you, because it takes a long time to gain traction, and
Mm,
people get bored easily, especially these days. They get bored easily. So you know, just share what you'd like to share. Hopefully the sharing is enough to feed your soul or whatever it is that you need feeding. But it's difficult when your sense of purpose is based on the number of likes you get,
I
because
know.
then you start to bandwagon, then you start to veer away from your brand, then you
Exactly.
start a lot of things can happen that aren't too good, just because you feel the pressure of having to uh, release another hit post.
Right, right. Especially when something went out and then it got viral, and then afterwards you're like, now what? How am I supposed to top that? Like there are also people who put that pressure onto themselves, that unnecessary pressure, when they can just be themselves, when they can just speak their truths instead of actually, you know, overthinking stuff just to try to trying to get engagement, because engagement, I believe as well, will always be organic, and your true raving fans will still come find you wherever you are, like whatever you post. And once you build that loyalty and that relationship too with your audience, then everything else is just going to be background noise. It's about the community as well. Like when you post your food reviews, and when people share their experiences, and also when you also post your cooking videos, and people will be able to relate to what you said, that's a fulfilling type of feeling. And I think some people are just maybe too hard on themselves as well. When they get into social media, they just expect that everything is just gonna, you know, skyrocket from there. But the truth is, it's still important to be yourself, end of the day.
Right. And like, honestly, you can never predict what is going to go viral. Like, I remember I had this one post about a buffet restaurant. I posted it at around 3 p.m. before I slept the same evening. It's had like a million
Whoa.
views, thousands of comments, and tens of thousands of comments and shares. And people started arguing in the comment section. Some people were defending the restaurant. Some people were defending me. Some people were sharing
Oh
uh,
my, the
their
battlefield.
thoughts about it. Right, and I felt like it wasn't a safe space for because people were really getting into it, right?
Mm.
So I deleted the post. Like, I didn't really mind losing the millions of views and whatever. I deleted it. Also, my phone started overheating because it was too many
Oh
notifications.
my,
So
it went that
yeah,
far? I didn't know this.
yeah. A lot of my posts actually reached like a million views from Lami Wa'y Lami, several posts. And like the stupidest things could go viral. Like when I got my booster shot on December 29,
Mhm.
the doctor, because I have like a tiger tattoo on my left
Mhm.
arm.
Mhm.
So the doctor inserted
Oh yeah, I saw that
the
post. Yeah,
right
yeah. I loved that.
like right smack in the middle of the forehead of this tiger. And from the angle I took the photo from, it looked like the tiger was depressed or sad or
Yeah, or
shaken.
yeah, it got beat up or something.
Right. So, and then they put the bandage over it. And then I tweeted it, and for some reason, it went viral. So now I think I have like 87,000 likes from it. A lot of
Awesome.
different pages took a screenshot of the tweet and shared it wherever. So you you never
Good
really
on you.
know. I mean, I didn't get anything from it. I was like, well, funny. It was funny. It was funny. I didn't expect it to, and that wasn't the first time either, because my first shot was in the same spot. I posted the same thing. Nobody minded it.
Mm,
Nobody. I don't think anyone
yeah,
can predict what goes viral.
that's right. Oh my gosh. Now that you gave me that info, yeah, I totally agree that it's really unpredictable, like how the internet works. But you just post something and just hope it sticks, and that's it.
Side note: apparently, there's this Korean like idol. I forget
Mhm.
his name, but I think he joined like a go-kart race or whatever, and he was asking for like a speed booster. Nobody gave it to him, and apparently he's obsessed with tigers. So
Mm.
booster shot plus my tiger tattoo, that's really one of the reasons why it went viral, because of the
Mm.
fans of this idol. And
Oh,
because of that, more and more people how would I know? how did, I didn't even know who this idol was. So it's just time. No, they kept mentioning the idol. Yeah, and they
okay.
shared it on like fan accounts. So I asked people in my subtweets who this was. I think his name was Hoshi, uh, from 17.
Mm.
Yeah, so they explained it to me.
I didn't expect it. It was on Twitter. It blew up on Twitter.
Yes, but obviously his stans also have a like a Facebook account or like a Facebook page,
Mm.
and they shared it there. And just satire and comedy pages
Mhm.
from different countries shared the tweet.
Oh, that's so cute. Awesome. And I remember too, like you told me before, like when we were still starting out at Mix FM, you told me that when you were a kid, you also did TV commercials. And I was just, I was wondering, like, how was that when you were a kid? How did that feel? Like, what was that experience like for you?
It was fun.
What
I
commercial was
think
it?
it's for TV. That was voiceover work for TV, for a TV commercial.
Mm,
Sun. Wait, I hope I'm not messing this up. Sun Glow
the
juice. It was
juice.
juice. Yeah,
Okay.
Sun Glow, or I don't remember. But I also did some voiceover work for Hunt's Pork and Beans, if I'm not mistaken, and um Safeguard.
Ooh, way back when you were still in Manila, when you were still living in Manila.
Yeah, I think my first commercial was when I was 5.
My
I'd like to say,
God.
not sure.
How did
Yeah,
you get discovered? How did you like
my dad's uncle conveniently works for these studios, and I think they just needed a young boy who could speak English. So that was my first gig, and then later
Mm,
on, um, um, I had for my safeguard commercial, I had the line in Chavacano, which I don't speak, and Waray, which I don't speak also. So what they did was they uh, gave the lines to me. They
mm.
said it in front of me so I could hear it thrice, and they expected me to get it.
Okay. And did you? Was it good?
Yeah, it took about maybe 30 takes just because they wanted changes in intonation and stuff. But for an 8-year-old, 9-year-old, it was a pretty good gig. I think they paid me 2,500 per sentence.
Oh my gosh. That's big
Yeah.
money.
Yes, in
In the 90s. Yeah, in the
1994 and
90s.
95. Right.
95.
Mm.
Cool. And did you ever like consider going back to that type of career? Have you ever thought about it?
Not really. I've always had this. What I really believe in is when you find an opportunity, milk it.
Hmm.
But I don't go looking for these opportunities. They just somehow, funny story. Uh, the reason why I applied for to be a DJ for Mix FM, I was talking to this one friend Carla. I was asking her if she um has heard about any opening or whatever, like a job opening, because I dropped out of law school. I spent a semester there. And she said, I heard on the radio that Mix FM is looking for a DJ. So I applied, got hired the same day, and that was that. I was never like a huge radio fan.
And after that, did you already start with your show, Confessions of a Partyphile, or did that take some time before you came up with it?
I actually resigned after about 3 years, 2 years, because I was supposed to work for this pharmaceutical company, which didn't push through um, because I quit. I quit even before I started. But when I came back, I came back with um, the idea for what would eventually become Confessions of a Partyphile. Yeah. So when I started, I wasn't using my name. I wasn't using Zhaun. I was using Miller. And they gave me for some reason the 9 a.m. to 12 noon time slot, and it was such a chore for me to wake up at 7 just to be on air by 9, and I had to be perky, and it really I wasn't having
Yes.
it. They
I
eventually
know.
moved me to 3 to 6 p.m. Because it just wasn't working for me.
Right, because 9 a.m. is like when everybody is awake and driving and going out and is starting their day. So that's why you had to be perky. And then I already remember you as being so chill, even when you're talking on air. You're like, and I think that's the personality too that you bring on the mic, like that you bring to the mic, your chill personality. And then ultimately it also led you to having your own show, which was Confessions of a Partyphile. And can you tell me more about how how you kind of got that idea?
So I started a blog while I was I'm not sure if it was college or law school, but I started a blog on Blogspot. Jologs. Libre. Yeah, Blogspot. But I titled it Confessions of a Partyphile, where I talked about things I realized while partying, because it consumed my life. Like I was doing it so much. There was a time I was partying every single night. Um, and then I got approached by someone I met online. Uh, and so this person asked me if I was interested in um, moving the blog to print.
Mm.
So they introduced me to their friend who was an editor for Edge, the newspaper. So whatever I wrote for my blog for that week, they published on the paper. So I was doing this as Jean while I was on the radio as Miller was my air name. And then again, I resigned from Mix FM for a month, I think. Um, and then when I came back, unfortunately, they gave away my slot, obviously, because someone had to take over my 3 to 6 p.m. Show.
Mm.
And the only available slot was for 6 to 9 p.m. every Wednesday, where it was supposed to be like a special show. So
Mm.
Miss Joey, our station manager, asked me to come up with a concept, and that's what I thought of, just to uh, move the blog and the newspaper column to radio.
Mm. I see. So
So it
kind
was
of like converting your blog to an article on the newspaper, converting it again to audio and real time.
Right. And it was always supposed to be like a talk show kind of thing where I gave out a cocktail recipe. If you remember, a cocktail recipe, celebrity birthdays we celebrated, and there was a
Mm.
theme that was linked to my article. Yeah, so that's how it started, and eventually it also became a series of um, events for
Events.
Marco Polo Davao, right? But they approached me as well to do that. That wasn't my idea. I think they wanted to hold like regular events for Eagles Bar,
Right.
because it was becoming like a hangout place for a much older demographic. So they wanted to bring in younger
Audiences,
younger people.
younger
Yeah.
people. I see. Among all of those, among all of the work that you've done, among all of your babies, which one's your favorite? Was it Lami Wa'y Lami? Was it Confessions of a Partyphile? What was it?
That's so difficult to uh, for purely economic reasons, probably Confessions of a Party File, the newspaper column,
Mm.
because I didn't have to spend anything for it. Um, and they paid me a reasonable amount. Uh, let me is really just an expense for me. It was more of an outlet. So instead of sharing what I ate with my friends, which at that time I was like, maybe they're annoyed by how much I post about food, so I'll just create a separate page for it. But there really was an expense because I never accepted free food. I never demanded for payment for review.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, just because I feel like if they knew that a food reviewer was coming, they might give me better service and or better food, which then wouldn't be the same experience for my readers,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
So
Because they know.
automatically, yeah.
Mhm. Oh yeah, automatically it'll all be biased. Like when they give you the food and they expect that you're a food blogger, they will just give you the best in their menu and they will give you everything else. And then that's not what everybody else will be getting because we'll just get like the reasonable portion. And also like I don't know, maybe they're just going to be upping their game. And that's such a nice way to get an unbiased review is if you do it fair and square, like without having to take any payment. But this is not to hate any of those people who do the food blogs and get paid for
Mhm.
features because they also have different intentions when they're doing their features. But with you, with the way I see it, your intention is to really give an objective review and
Right.
yeah,
As a customer,
yeah,
as a
right, as a
customer,
customer,
right?
yeah, and not
Not
as
as a
a
food reviewer, right?
that's
Not
right.
like an influencer. Right.
Yes, exactly. So making art or making something creative has its fun parts and not so fun parts. What's your most favorite part of your process and what's your least favorite?
I think just conceptualizing is uh where when I'm excited the most.
Mm.
Like thinking about how to execute everything,
Mm-hmm.
or deciding what is on brand, what's not on brand, um, and really thinking about where I want the project to go. Also, it's kind of exciting, I one of the most fulfilling parts of it is just realizing that this project started in your head and
Mm.
nobody else thought about it.
Yeah, yeah.
And for some reason, you know, uh, I have managed to get it off the ground. People resonate with it,
Mhm.
and it's become its own thing. Yeah.
It's a
But I
living, breathing thing now.
right, and I've always made it a point to exit at the top Meaning,
Mm.
I always made it a point to quit Confessions of a Partyphile and Lami Wa'y Lami when it was, to me, at its peak.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I remember that quote. It's better to burn out than fade away. Like, always end it on a high note instead of,
Mhm.
deteriorating in performance. I think that also makes sense because sometimes when our priorities change, when our careers change, it doesn't necessarily mean that, because there are some times that we also stretch ourselves too thin, and we end up kind of neglecting something that we used to love doing, and the quality of the content that we put out, or the quality of that something that we're doing, won't be the same as when we had our 100% focus. So that actually makes sense.
Your creative juju.
Yeah,
Do you know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah, the creative
Right.
juices. Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Right.
speaking of, do you ever get creative block? How do you deal with creative block?
All the time. And that's when I start considering just quitting. Because I kind of, I tend to know when it's still exciting for me, and when the excitement has faded and it's not fulfilling in a way that it used to be. And because
Mm.
I don't get income from it, it's purely for my creative release, and
Mhm.
I'm not in it for online validation.
Mm.
It's easy to just step away and realize that it used to make me happy. That's no longer the case, and it's okay to end.
Yeah, it's okay to move
Yeah.
on to different things. And what was creative life like when COVID happened? I remember you mentioned that you had some live videos on Lazada, and you also did some cooking tutorials on YouTube. So what was it like?
Before the pandemic, okay, so I had to kind of ease off from posting from Wa'y Lami, just because I moved to Metro Manila
Mhm.
before the pandemic, because obviously it wouldn't make sense to release Bisaya reviews for the Dabawenyos crowd about establishments in Metro Manila, right?
Right, right.
And I guess that's also one thing that's important to learn along the way, is that you have to be conscious about whether your product, in this case your posts, is still appealing or will still be appealing to your audience or your
Mm.
target market. Um so obviously, when the pandemic happened, eating out wasn't a priority for many
Mm.
people. And that's why I shifted to creating instead easy to follow recipes that I posted on YouTube that were still a little humorous, but appropriate for someone who isn't as proficient in cooking.
I watched a lot of your videos. I kind of fell into a rabbit hole there, and I think my favorite recipe that you made was that longanisa, was that chorizo pasta, where you said it was a struggle meal because there wasn't anything in the fridge, and you like just gathered all of the ingredients and put them in a saucepan, and then boom, that's it. And I feel like during COVID as well, so there are times that because we don't want to go out, we just make do of what we have at home.
Right. And after I sort of got the wind that there was going to be a lockdown before there was an actual lockdown, and that was the case for many people in Metro Manila.
Mm.
So we started hoarding a lot of canned goods, and
Mm.
after your sixth day of eating corned beef, like, you need to come up with something creative. So that's really how that started. And then I also posted these recipe videos on different Facebook groups, and that's where I was approached by someone from Lazada,
Mm.
and then they invited me to host these live streams where I cooked for 30 minutes
Mm.
live. So that was also a new experience for me, because uh, I had to it's surprisingly difficult to cook and talk and look at the chat box at the same time while promoting Lazada sales, right? It's more difficult than you think. And I made it a point to not prep anything prior to going live. So I wanted it to be in real time so people would actually see how easy it was to
Hmm.
to cook these dishes and how you can turn a few simple ingredients to an exciting meal. And yeah, and that's really and that's what I meant when I said it's important to find opportunities when they present themselves, right?
Exactly.
Because yeah, it's just
What was your favorite
y-
dish among all of the stuff that you cooked?
I don't remember. I don't remember because I used to do that every single night for a month.
Hmm. How about your favorite
Yeah.
dish now that you've recently done?
Oh, I've made it my personal mission to know how to learn how to cook pan fried salmon perfectly, like still pink in the middle, perfectly
Hmm.
seared, and also um, soy sauce scrambled eggs.
Hmm. So what happens there? So I saw scrambled eggs that got me curious.
Just literally eggs with soy sauce instead of salt. And then, so I have this technique where um, you get like soft, uh, soft scrambled eggs,
Mhm.
but with curds. So
Mm.
it's not like I don't know if you've seen Gordon Ramsay's scrambled eggs, but it's like watery. His was sort of liquidy, so it's more like silky, silky curds. So it's a little more set than his, but it's very soft. So I made it a point to learn how to make the perfect scrambled eggs and the perfect pan fried salmon. Now I'd like to know exactly how to cook chicken breasts so that it's moist but cooked through without a thermometer.
Oh, but you do still use a thermometer, like when you cook.
No, no. I've never used thermometers. I've never measured ingredients. It was always instinctive.
Like, I remember there was that Asian skit where like how people measure rice in the rice cooker and they just put the finger there. And I think they also don't use measuring spoons when cooking, just everything's also instinctive.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that sort of makes sense because if you follow a recipe, for example, from an American chef who's cooking in America,
Mhm.
the ingredients aren't the same. Their soy sauce isn't as salty. It's a different taste from our soy sauce.
Yeah.
And like even the brand that you use of soy sauce gives it a different flavor. So you don't have to follow recipes to a T.
So do you have any advice to like give other creatives who also want to try something that's similar to what you've done, like have a column on the newspaper about or have a food blog or have a cooking show, like any advice that you'd like to give?
Don't do it. No, joke lang. Um, uh, Number one is don't do it for validation.
Mm.
Do it because you love it. It's something that you'd like to share. It's a way for you to express your thoughts or your skill. Number two, know your audience. Number three, stick to your brand. And number four, create more opportunities and milk the opportunities when they present themselves.
Awesome. And one more thing. When you were in your journey, what was the greatest challenge in doing the work that you do? Like, what was the greatest challenge that you had to overcome, and how did you overcome it?
I have very selective memory. For some reason, when it's something negative, unless it's like a really big deal, I tend not to remember. I tend not to remember struggles. Um, so I guess that's the greatest that was the most challenging, maybe learning how to not take things personally, uh
Mm.
so much so that a couple of years down the road you don't even think about it. Yeah, don't take things personally.
Awesome. And right now, you're working in an insurance company. How long have you been with your company?
With this company since 2018, but I've been in the insurance industry as a trainer for since 2012, and a lot of people don't know. A lot of
Well,
people don't know that I have an actual job. Some people still think that my main source of income is uh, creative work like blogging or vlogging. And they're still surprised to note that I indeed do have a corporate job and I am no longer partying every night.
do you bring as well your creativity into your work? Like, are there any ways that you have also had a creative outlet while doing your corporate work?
Yes. And in in my early years as a trainer in the first insurance company that I used to work for, um, I found it. I felt like uh, a bird whose wings were failing him, if that
Mm.
makes sense. It felt like I always felt like someone was plucking away my wings a feather at a time. Like it
Mm.
literally, it was so draining. Everything I did was routinary. Um, I just felt like I was losing all my creativity because um, they'd have us teach modules that were
Mm.
scripted,
That's
and
right.
you could, yeah, and there was, some leg room for you to make a funny comment or a joke, but I was doing the same thing day in and day out, so it was stifling my creativity. And then later on I discovered that I actually, in my capacity as a trader, could start creating modules instead of just conducting
Yes.
trainings. And that's
Ah,
where my creativity really kicked in. And uh for some reason I was really good at using the real estate of the slide, maximizing that. And um although it sounds like such a stretch from being a radio DJ, from being a blogger, a food reviewer, uh, to a trainer for a financial institution,
mhm.
it actually did help me quite a lot because I think I've learned how to communicate to people better. Meaning, because I was on, because I wrote so many articles, I understood how uh, something you'd write might be interpreted by your
Mm.
audience.
That's right.
And because I was on radio, I I learned how something you said could be interpreted a particular way. So if you put those two things together, I think, it made me a really a better trainer.
That's right.
Uh,
And all of
yeah.
the conversations and all of the communication like went smoothly than if you did not have that experience. So so it really did help.
Yeah.
Like everything that we go through in life really does help. Like every decision and every kind of path that we take like in the future, somewhere somehow there's still something that we get out of the things that we go through. And I thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your time. And if you want people to follow you on your socials, maybe you can give them your social media handles.
Lami Wa'y Lami on Facebook and Instagram. You can subscribe to my channel on YouTube. That's Zhaun Ortega, Zhaun Ortega, spelled with an E, not an I. And you can follow me on Twitter. That's Zhaun at Zhaun, Zhaun, or Instagram, Zhaun7, Zhaun number 7.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your time, and I learned a lot in our conversation. And those are just awesome experiences that you've shared with everyone. And I'm sure that everybody who also wants to pursue a creative career, or just have their hand at a creative life or at a creative path, and they can be inspired because of what you've done. And thank you again so much, and you have a good one.
No, thank you for inviting me.
Yay, thank you. This is Aubrey, and you're listening to It's All Material. New episode every Thursday at 7 p.m.